Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. Happy Friday. It is Friday afternoon. Evening, I guess, technically. Nope, it is still afternoon. 4:37 on the West Coast. Whatever, who cares? Happy Friday. Why are we looking at a Budweiser bucket? Well, because it's the one I had available to do what we're going to do. Got a couple carbs in from Ed today. One is used. This is a Tillotson, this is a 132, yeah, HS-132A. He's been working on some of the XL101 series saws. I don't remember the actual model numbers, but it's that family. And so he'd had trouble with that carb, and then this one that's supposed to be new. They wouldn't hold pressure. And this does not look like it's ever been bolted up, I'll say that. But he said when he was getting them underwater, he was getting leakage out of the pump cover hole. Now, to me, that's right above this fuel fitting. If that's what's happening, it sounds like an incorrect diaphragm would have been installed. But I can't think of any other reason that would occur. But let's just go ahead and get a baseline. He was doing underwater testing, so let's do the same thing, and we'll see what we can find here. And I'll re-angle the camera. Alright, I see a view of the bucket there, I think in the viewfinder. So, let's submerge this bad boy, let it fill up. Oh, look at that. There's a leak around somewhere. It's actually around the screw itself on this one, and there is a leak at that vent hole cover. Okay. Now I am up at, I got that a little above 7. Let's get up to, let's see if I can get it to 10 here. Yeah, that really speeds up. Most of it's around that screw. That's a pretty quick clip on the bubbles. We're almost down to 6. I know we're wasting time here, but I kind of want to see how long this takes. I'm not timing it officially, but your general rule of thumb, if you go from 6 to 0 in less than 2 minutes, you got way too much of a leak. And it looks like we're going to easily make that mark. It does slow down markedly as you get close to 3, but I know from experience that's still not, you can get 3 psi of pressure in your fuel tank on a hot day awful easily. Alright, we're creeping down towards 2, and that is the only place that I can see a leak. There's nothing on the inlet side. Nothing coming through the nozzle here. It's just this cover. So let's figure out what the hell we've got going on. We'll get old Budweiser out of the way here. Somebody at my work, for some reason, had those. And I don't remember if it was a promo the athletics department had, but whatever. We found a bunch of those in the dumpster one day, and I'm like, well, sheesh, I can do something with it. Alright, looks like that's centered in the viewfinder. I can't see for squat there. There's that screw. Oop. Now that wasn't the tightest, I will say that. No, okay. But that's not... I don't normally on the pump side here have too much trouble on these HS's. Let's just see what we've got cooking. Now that's wet. You can tell that water was actually getting in there. The only thing I can see potentially is that the ridge right here isn't very pronounced. And right here you can see the rest of it is pushing through pretty well. Right where it skirts around the screw hole here didn't put that much of an impression on here. Now this gasket is already tearing. And I'm going to sacrifice it. So I need to see what condition these sealing ridges are in. In case you're wondering, that's why those are there. Okay. It's still got decent lips around them. Yeah, so this would seal from here out. The rest of that would just be a compression thing. Okay. I'm not seeing anything that I'm just like going, okay, well that's dead obvious as to why it didn't seal. I don't know what brand. Don't think Ed's letter said what brand the kits were. But knowing Ed, they're probably Tillotson. I mean, those of us that hang around House of Homelight were well familiar with some of the drawbacks of the aftermarket gasket kits. Some of them are okay. Some of them are trash. Alright, I'm going to kill the video. I'm going to clean this up. Dig out a new gasket. There's nothing wrong with that diaphragm. I mean, there is nothing wrong. I'll clean the... I can't tell if that's just water or a little bit of fuel, but I'll clean all that up. And... yeah, we'll just put it back together and do the dunk test. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Come right back. Okay, let's see where we get with this. Now, it should be noted, one of my customers sent me a video they found. God, it might have even been on Tillotson's website. Where they were pre-soaking carb parts in gasoline or fuel mix before installing them, and that is somewhat known. These gaskets will swell a little bit once gases or fuel mix has hit them, and do a little better sealing. I find this pump side can be a pain in the butt, not usually on HS's. I find it mostly on Walbro HDCs, to be quite honest. And I will spray them with some of this good stuff and soak them down. The Permatex high-tack spray a gasket sealant. I mean, it's not really a gasket adhesive. I mean, it says that it does, but boy, you got to really get a lot on there and get it in place quick. But it does seal them quite well. I've stopped quite a few leaks. Now I'm going to get a little not violent, but I'm going to tighten these to where I know we're good. And if this continues to leak, it's going to get that gasket sealer on here. I have yet to find a defect in these pump covers, so I don't know. Alright, we'll just try it without the bucket at first and see if the needle is stable. That's even worse than it was. That's amazing. So where's it leaking now? Those ridges didn't really look worn, but wow. What a mess. That's even coming out the impulse hole now. What the hell do we have going on here? This is not normal at all. So what am I missing? Might be time to get out a Tillotson kit and compare the gaskets and diaphragms. See just what's cooking here. These are simple carbs. Normally, they're not usually a pain. Those flaps aren't staying down. I don't know why that would matter. But for us to be getting bubbles like that, it has got to be. I mean, you've got a passage right here. So fuel can come in and go through here. And because that's not sealing, but it would push up anyway, it's going to come up and travel back in. We've got to get it through the filter here before it can get to the metering side. Huh. Folks, I'm not sure what in the hell we have going on here. Let's see if I can get a Tillotson kit out. That one's missing the... Actually, that's the one I took the gasket out of. Okay. So that all looks the same. I don't see anything obviously different here. And you can see that the cover is doing what it should. It cut right into the gasket. That's not where the leak appears to have been. It appears to have been between the gasket and the diaphragm. And again, don't ask me why, as I don't know. I don't know if we have an incompatibility of materials, or it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I'm using a new diaphragm out of my stock and a new gasket because the other one obviously tore as I was inspecting those ridges. There was no way around that. Okay, that is tight enough it shouldn't leak a drop under normal circumstances. And it still is. That doesn't make any sense. Doing exactly the same thing. That is amazing. Truly amazing. I can see why Ed was at his wit's end with this. Especially if a brand new one out of the box is doing the same thing. So there's a couple ways I could take the approach here. I could go with my tried and true and do the Permatex. could try soaking that gasket. But here's my thing. I don't normally have to. Especially not on these carbs. Not these carbs. So again, for it to leak up, it's got to be getting into this chamber and then leaking up through here. Now what I will say, you see that mottling? These discolored spots? I'm starting to wonder what the hell that... Those are small indentations. Now that is interesting. That's imperfections in the casting. Now why are they there? Right here we can see that almost all the way across here, this is going to be a harder one to seal up. I'm going to run this over the wire wheel and see what it looks like after that. So with it shiny, mostly dry, there's a lot of imperfections in here. A hell of a lot. I don't have an explanation for why they're like that. I really don't. But that's my suspicion as to why it's not sealing. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to do about it. First thing that comes to mind is a wet sand, like I've done on some of those Tillotson HL carburetors. I have to pull the fuel barb here so I could get it flat. I don't really like doing that. Of course, I don't like doing it on the HLs either, but it cured those. But all those rough spots could very easily be explaining how pressure from here is getting up and back out. Okay, I'm going to give this a little bit of thought. Okay, well, I went ahead and sanded it. I was out of wet sandpaper, and I decided I would just use some of my 120 here and do it lightly. And that definitely helped. You can see pretty clearly where there is pocking in various places. And I haven't seen this on a carb deck. It's almost like this thing was rattled around forever and a day with no cover on it. So, don't ask me to explain that. I can't. What we can do is see if what I have done is enough. So I don't want to take any more material off of here than I have to. Just on pure principle. So we'll just see. If she'll hold pressure now. The reason I had to take the fuel barb off is it was just sticking down enough that I wouldn't be able to get a flat rub. And that's one thing, if you're gonna sand a carb deck like what I did, you want to make sure that you're on a flat surface and you're not doing anything at an angle. That is a surefire recipe for disaster. And again, it's very uncommon, very, very, very uncommon to have to do this. Even on the Tillies. It's just when you have a persistent leak, sometimes when you eliminate every other damn thing, you gotta go, Again, those pock marks, or whatever you want to call them, divots, damage, don't belong there. gauge back on. Let's hope for the best. Wow. This is getting a little bit annoying. Oh, come on. Under no circumstances should there ever be transfer out that damn port. Should not be happening. And yet it is. Okay, so I gave up and doused the pump diaphragm, or the pump gasket itself, with a good dose of this stuff, and it slowed it way down. I mean, way down. I've put a couple squirts of fuel in here that I've used to press to try and push through, since fuel will cause it to raise. I'm going to pump this up to 12 psi, and once I get there, I'm going to start the timer, and we're going to see how long it takes it to bleed off. And if I can pump this up, there we go. Come on. Apparently I have to be smarter. Whoa. Damn it. I don't really care about that. You're supposed to be a timer. Oh. Maybe I want the stop. Okay. I have to be smarter than my phone, folks. Sorry. Which I am clearly not. Alright, there we go. And if this starts taking too long, I'll speed this up on the video. Okay, I've had enough. Shouldn't leak at all, but that's clearly a porous gasket. That is all I can say for it. It's either that or the way this cover is, it just doesn't clamp quite as hard as you'd want it to. So I think I'm going to proceed with this other one probably the same way, and we'll see how it does. Okay, so I decided to experiment, and I soaked this gasket in fuel. Oh, that was easily a couple hours, yeah. So let's see, just for grins, if it makes any difference. If it does, what that suggests is that putting one together and running it for a little bit is probably enough to seal up a minor leak. But that's risky in my book, because then you run the risk of putting it on and getting everything buttoned up and finding out that it's still not right. Or what's to say when this thing sits for, you know, a winter, that the gasket doesn't dry out and start leaking again. I don't know. I'm just posing questions that comes to my mind. I'm more inclined in a case like this to use the Permatex because I think it's more permanent. But I don't know. I suppose by using fuel mix, whatever oil seeps into the gasket, that's not going to evaporate. That's just going to hang out. Gasoline's going to evaporate. Alright. Now, I didn't put one on this before, but let's just see what happens. Minor leak down. very minor leak down. So I'd say that's comparable to the other one. Let's see where it's leaking. If it's the gasket again, or if this one's different. Same exact thing. Definitely the gasket. And definitely as slow. Maybe a little bit slower. So initially, nah, it's about the same. So I guess you can get the same results. Soak your gaskets for a couple hours, or blast them with a little Permatex. Either way, Ed will go through the other side and hook the inlet diaphragms back up, dry these out, and get them heading back your way.